All right. So for my midterm project, I did When Mom Talks, Are Infants with ASD Listening. ASD stands for Autism Spectrum Disorder. So here goes the article. The article states that the researchers from the University of San Diego located regions of the brain that are responsible for normal or impaired development for for a child with ASD's response to Mother Reese and just response to their parents talking to them. And it shows that infants with autism typically do not respond well. So, what were the three main takeaways from this article? The three main takeaways were Mother Reese, the research study, and the overall result of the study. So, what is Mother Reese? Mother Reese is a simplified communication that parents utilize to communicate with their newborns and young toddlers. The article expounds upon how children with autism spectrum disorder showed a decreased response time to Mother Reese due to their lack of attention span to be able to consume the auditory information, but it's also because they're not able to fully comprehend and interpret what's going on. So, how was this able to be tested? So, via the research study, they used tests involving 200 data sets from 71 toddlers and 41 sets from 14 adults. The testing included the functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI), conducting of clinical assessments of social and language development, and eye tracking technology. All of these were used in very different ways. So, eye tracking technology was used to see how well the children are paying attention. That's a big part of it, especially with children with autism spectrum disorder, because that shows how much are they really closely looking at the information. The clinical assessments were to test what pace they are moving at when it comes to social and language development skills, and fMRI's imaging was to overall see the imaging of how their brains affected by it. So the result of the study was that infants and toddlers contain the lowest neural responses to Mother Reese. How can we prove this? So from chapters, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor right now, but from chapter 6, chapter 9, 5.1, and 5.2, all proves that the article's information all supports the article's information. So from chapter 9, section 5.1, it states that the heterogeneous disorder is composed of two different types of senses, first sense and second sense. So the first sense of ASD is children that are severely impaired but have talents in other respects. So they may be severely impaired, but they are very musically inclined. And then the second sense is that some individuals may have many impairments, and others contain substantial differences that amount in impairment. So some children may have several different impairments and may be talented in one thing or have several different talents and have such a massive impairment that it kind of cancels out, kind of overshadows that talent almost. You see what I'm saying? First sense and second sense. Section 5.2, the chapter also states the neural mechanisms. So it did state that, and from the research study, if we go back right here, it says the result of the study is that it contained low neural responses to Mother Reese. And right here, and 5.2, it states that it states that the neural mechanisms deceptive of ASD of some behavioral function, and a line of research proves that the neural mechanisms of ASD show that they spend a lot of time looking at faces and saving them for memory. They don't use much time doing that. So chapter 6 also speaks briefly about the fusion form area of adolescents with ASD, and they found less activity during their fMRI. So that kind of closely correlates with each other because they utilized fMRI on the toddlers, and toddler development and adolescent development is still showing that they showed low neural responses. So tying it all together, the University of California in San Diego resulted the same way as the research displayed in Chapter 6. That's why Chapter 6 is bolded. Although the San Diego study consisted of infants and toddler participants, it closely correlated with the statistics found in the fMRI results of the adolescents listed in Chapter 6. So infants and toddlers struggle to interpret Mother Reese, and in adolescents, they struggle to register faces. So it kind of works hand in hand from development to infancy and toddler development to adolescent development. So the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication is a great supported source because it also states that children with ASD develop speech and language skills, but not at a normal level of ability. And that is proven and is supported from chapters 9, 5. Sections 5.1 and 5.2. And it's also supported by the article because of the study that was conducted in San Diego. The second source from Dr. Stephanie Browning in 2013, her and a colleague of hers found 11 children and with a diagnosis of ASD and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and they performed very little in speak recognition compared to children without ASD or ADHD. So shortly after, they performed another one that consisted 400 children ages 3 to 10 years old with ASD to complete an SSP. An SSP is a short sensory profile, and this resulted in showing in 60 to 80% of children exhibited deficit in their auditory filtering abilities. The last supported source is a mother from a column that sent it to the University of Ohio State University, stating how her son struggles with communication skills, and oftentimes when he does respond, the words that he says has nothing to do with the conversation, and he has very loud outbursts and temper tantrums. The therapist result to telling her to work closely with a behavioral therapist and speech therapist and his teacher to formulate a better learning plan, because due to an infancy and toddler development, it comes out that they struggle to understand social cues, so it ends up coming out in adolescence and early childhood. So in conclusion, when mom talks, are infants with ASD listening? No, infants with ASD are not listening due to their neural responses to Mother East language. Basically, the University of San Diego's research displayed that infant and toddler participants closely correlated to the statistics of an fMRI of adolescents with ASD in Chapter 6. And infants and toddlers struggle to interpret Mother East in adolescence. They struggle to register familiar faces, and then the three sources supported that in infancy and or during developmental stages of being a toddler and not understanding Mother East can lead to difficulty holding a conversation and socially engaging with others. Here are my listed sources, and thank you for listening.